we should always have the camera running, maybe, Senator. But I said when you sat down, I don't think these plans are that different, and it looks like they could be reconciled pretty easily. I think I also said to you that initially the markets looked at that delay until 2019, but once they looked at the business expensing,
right.
If you can get it, you got to get it under 1.5, and it's hard to get it anywhere else. And if you can do it that way and do business expensing, it's not that bad because it's permanent, too, to 20.
That's right. And business gets to deduct the expenses against a 35% rate.
Right.
That's a big deduction.
That's almost as good as having it happen now, or maybe even better.
It really is. So look, I'm very open to the discussion about moving that date forward. That would not be a terrible thing. There are trade-offs. As you point out, there's a limit to how much revenue we can forego. But I got to tell you.
Not that different.
It's not that different. The fundamental principles are the same. Tax savings for middle-income families, a dramatic reduction in the business rate so that we can compete, moving to a territorial system so that we don't double tax business overseas. The architecture is the same, so I think we'll be able to iron out the differences.
What about the delay on the corporate rate? That's the big issue.
No, it doesn't matter. You get business expensing. It's even better than the delay. And then you get it under 1.5 trillion.
But do investors...
You got to get it somewhere.
Look, we're on our side. I think we're going to be open to have this conversation. I mean, when you think about it, we're not that far apart. We've got the goal is 20% permanent.
Yeah.
So one starts on January 1, 18, the other starts January 1, 19. I think we can find a way to bridge that difference.
And it's harder to make it permanent if you started immediately and you're at 1.7 trillion, which won't pass muster, right?
Well,
and you already got Flake talking about not even wanting 1.5.
We'd have to find some other offset, and that gets challenging.
Let me read you this. The Journal says that the Senate plan improves on the House plan in several important ways, but it ends by saying the details matter. But the larger story is that the Senate, which was the cemetery for the health care bill, has joined with the House. And it could be, I can see how there seems to be, people said Virginia could go either way with whether it helped or hurt this effort. I think it lit a fire under some of these guys.
We've been working all year long on this, working closely with the White House, with our colleagues in the House. And yesterday we unveiled the details to the entire Republican conference in the Senate. Now, we've been discussing the major elements for a long time, but it was really well received across the conference. Now, we've got to hold almost everybody, and we understand that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of enthusiasm because it's going to encourage economic growth and investment in the United States.
There's a devil in the details. This is interesting, Andrew, talking about the individual things. But the Journal didn't like that you're not repealing the death tax. They say you do double it to 10 million. But I hadn't even considered this, Sorkin, and this is kind of interesting. Journal says the wealthy will still duck the tax by moving their assets into trust or foundations or sell businesses prematurely. As a result, it diverts resources from the productive economy. So there is a growth reason to get rid of
the death tax. Yeah. Absolutely.
But you don't do
lock up. No, again, it's a matter of what pieces we can fit into this box. But we lift the exemption to $11 million for an individual and $22 million for a couple. That really covers the vast, overwhelming majority of people.
If you add Pilar in, that won't work for him. If you added your wife in, you're still going to be.
Sorry, we left you behind.
Yeah. I'm left behind by this plan.
I asked you earlier. You didn't really. Is the pass through? This seems less.
This seems better. Yeah,
for you.
100%.
Right.
100%.
It's much simpler.
It's much simpler. It captures a
what else?
Piece of it.
We've talked about Reagan. Would never raise the high, would never have add an additional bracket for wealthy individuals, which the House does. I mean, that's like philosophically not where a normal.
It's not where we were in the Senate Finance Committee.
How do you think that gets reconciled between you and the House? You think you guys win?
There's going to be a long list of things that we have relatively modest. Here again, it's 1%.
What do you think Trump wants? Trump does. He always talks about Bob Kraft. Tells me don't give any. He probably would prefer the House bill.
We're discussing, we're arguing about this little tiny difference.
Right.
And I think President Trump will be okay with either outcome because the big picture is it's a tax savings for the middle class and it makes business competitive. It's going to encourage tremendous investment. It's going to be very pro-growth.
Were you surprised at how quickly it got out of the committee in the House? It's actually moving.
It is moving. No, it's very good news. I think they held every Republican on that vote. They're making good progress.
But just in terms of how this moves forward, to the extent that you think it is close, just help us understand where the fault lines are within the House relative to when this comes back to them.
You mean in the policy where the challenges are? Well, look, I think it's the things we've been talking about. You know, we're going to have to reconcile
Salt.
a slight difference on the top individual rate. We're going to have to reconcile the timing by which.
But who do you think is going to go with you and who's not? That's what I'm.
Will you lose
that's what I'm trying to understand.
will you lose some of the red state House guys with the salt, getting rid of it?
You mean blue state House guys?
I'm sorry, blue state House guys?
Well, apparently somebody may have already said that.
One guy.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all right.
But look, I think we'll figure out what it takes to keep everybody on board in that respect. I think it's good policy to disallow that deduction. Why should my constituents in Erie, Pennsylvania, be subsidizing the cost of high taxes in New York City and San Francisco?
I think if
just had the
Andrew,
mayor
if
on
you
talking
were
about
in
this.
the Senate,
Yeah.
and let's call you an independent,
Yep.
that you're right in the middle on all
Thank
these
you.
things.
Thank
I
you.
think with this pass-through change,
I-
and with being able to bring the money back and the territorial, all the
Right.
things that are in there, I think
I
I've
gotta get a
almost.
full score. I need a full score.
No, but I
you'd
think
be for it.
I think you're almost
Can I-
there.
here's
If it's
another-
under 1.5 trillion, don't we almost have a? Can you make up for a loss in the Republican side of things?
I always thought
Will
if
you get
could
it-
get
will you get them
I
to
thought
51?
If it could get scored closer to 500 or
Okay,
we're not getting another
can I-
800, that maybe you
Andrew.
take a chance.
You
Andrew,
spent 10
take a
trillion.
chance.
You spent 10 trillion in the last 8 years.
Here's a number to think about. 0.4% of extra GDP growth completely fills in the hole.
Yeah.
0.4% on average
on.
over the full budget window.
Give me this.
Don't you think?
Give me.
Don't you think
I'm
we
going to get
get
him
there?
right now.
Come on, Andrew.
Come on, Andrew. Come on.
I hear where you. I know. I hear.
You're not
where-
ready to make a decision. Right? You got
I need
talk
to see the
you got to
full
talk to the
score.
wife. That's what my clients always used to say, and it's like.
Right. Got to talk to my wife. That's my answer. I'm using that. I got to talk
Can
to
I
my
call
wife.
you
I think I
tomorrow?
got Joe.
I got to call. I need a lifeline. I need a lifeline right now.
Senator, thank you. It's,
Thanks for having me.
It's
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.